Well, hello there. It's another day. I'm Jim Harrington.
And I am Bill Knight. How are you today on this bright and early Monday morning?
Well, I feel pretty good, but there are some things, Bill, I got to tell you that kind of bother me. It was a kind of a heavy, eventful weekend. And I mean, you did some amazing things, so we're going to get to that in a second. But you know, what did bother me, Bill, is Thursday night at 9 o'clock, we may have had the most important address to the nation in my lifetime. I mean,
Right, right.
it was, and of course, two major networks decided it wasn't important at all to air, and they didn't. ABC and NBC, they should be ashamed of themselves. And I do think, Bill, and I'm a guy who spent my whole life in the media. I think they should pay consequence by losing some licenses. Those aren't guaranteed to them because of who they are. They have a responsibility, and if they didn't uphold their end of the bargain, then they should lose their. And people may say, "Well, what's going to happen with all my favorite shows?" Folks, we live in a world of technology, and there'll be other ways of getting stuff to you. Trust me. As a matter of fact, a lot of your favorite shows now are streamed on places like Paramount Plus and stuff like that. So you'll get your shows. But also the people who decide to turn their back on their country in a time of crisis, they'll get their comeuppance too. But Bill, what bothered me a lot was we had this on Thursday night at 9 o'clock, and I checked this morning the news, and I saw nothing in the news cycles, no talk of it. They spent more time talking about the World Cup, which ended yesterday, uneventfully, by the way. You know, and by the way, that's another thing. I hear one of the anchors on one of the cable news channels she says, "Ooh, and there were 80,000 people in the stands." I felt like saying, "Listen, lady, go to a Penn State football game on a Sunday when there are 96,000 or 100,000 people in the stands."
Well, left state media, the news, mainstream news, and look, FIFA's big, and Trump, he's the one that said, "Yeah, let's do it," and he didn't even believe in it, and the numbers are big. But the simple fact is, it is it's not even a care. It's a distraction that's being overplayed by the news. But their problem is, it's over.
Yeah,
it's over.
It's a wrap. Put a fork in it. It's done. Yes. And by the way, if I hear one more time on these promos for these events, the greatest game in world history happens this Thursday night, on Fox or whatever. Hey, folks, every time there's a major game, be it a World Series game or a Super Bowl game or whatever, you hear the same kind of promo. The greatest game ever. The most important game ever to be played anywhere in the entire universe. I mean, these people are amazing. It's just a game. And it's like Bill said, when it's over,
it's done.
Yeah.
But, this is kind of like the hoopla over Travis Kelce and what's her
Travis Taylor Swift, yeah.
Madison Square Garden, they get
Who
married.
cares?
Why are they doing it there? Because it's a theatrical spectacle for them to make money. And now they're showing, here's the concert of all the stars. Screw every one of them. Who cares? But it was a distraction.
I'm glad people couldn't see your hand when you said that. I'm just saying.
I was waving.
Yeah,
I was
know.
waving.
Yes, you were.
I was giving the one-way sign.
Yes, you certainly were. Well, all I can tell you, folks, is the World Cup is finished. It's done. It's a wrap. I think they do it every 4 years, so onward and upward. People that I had never even heard of. Look, I'm not a World Cup fan, or I'm not a soccer fan, or what they call European football. I mean, God bless them. They have a lot of people who follow it. I think it's great. To our listeners in Germany and in Great Britain, I applaud you. I have friends over in England. God, they follow the Manchester football team like it's in their life's blood. But folks, they're just games. And believe me, they are a distraction, and they're meant to be a money-making distraction to get your attention away from the day-to-day stress of life. That's what these things are all about.
Maybe that's why they're so big in Europe, because,
It's falling apart over there. Bill, did you hear about the prime minister in England? The guy, what's his name? Keir Starmer is done today. He, as a matter of fact,
don't they have a socialist in place now?
yes, they took a bad prime minister in England, and they said you can't get any worse than Keir Starmer. And somebody said, hold my beer, and they found somebody. They found somebody who is he comes. The first thing he does is he comes out and he criticizes Margaret Thatcher, one of the greatest prime ministers England has ever had. A woman who came out and who made England self-sufficient and proud of its heritage, and talked about individual strength, centralized government, not a whole bunch of socialists. The guy that they're bringing in right now, the first thing he does is criticize her and talk about how he's going to make it more of a socialist government. Just what England doesn't need.
You're talking about England going socialist. No, they don't need that. But, look at the United States. We had the Communist Democrat Party.
Yes.
Which was outlawed in the 40s, actually.
30s.
No, it was 40s. I looked it up.
Ah! You must be looking at Grok. I looked at that other one.
Well, either way, 30s or 40s, it doesn't matter. We outlawed it, the Communist Party. But you know what? Communism has been trying to rear its head and infiltrate the United States for a long time.
Yes.
It got quelled. But, they came back and they said, now, when I was a kid growing up, and when they actually taught in schools, they used to sit there and say, when they taught about it, they said, now remember, socialism is the doorstep to communism.
Yes.
And even Marx himself said, yes, this is how you walk into communism. And I'm sitting there going, I'm a Democrat socialist. It is basically
communism.
The Democrat, not a Communist Party. And they're in Wisconsin, the lieutenant governor that was running, I'm stepping down so that the professed socialist that says, I will abolish the police, is running and now is the front runner for the Democrats.
They came out,
Maine.
Bill. They came out. The National Democratic Socialist Party came out with their platform last week.
Yeah.
On the platform, they said they want to get rid of the Senate. They want to get rid of the Supreme Court. They want to make the presidency subservient to Congress. Folks, they want
have a president.
They want to take the Constitution, which is the framework of our society in this country. They want to rip it to friggin' shreds. Now, Bill, the reason why they didn't call themselves communists is because of what you just said. Back in the 30s or 40s, right, when they outlawed communism in our country, they never repealed that, which means it's still outlawed in this country. It's still on the books. They don't tell you that in the friggin' news because they're kind of working with them, I think. I mean, that's my humble opinion.
They are state media.
Yes.
And, do the math. They got lousy ratings. They can't sell advertising. And yet they can pay these enormous salaries and they go on.
Well,
what are they doing for the money?
Let me ask you, my friend. In the media that we worked in, and I worked in it for most of my life. Other than when I was 14 and worked as a dishwasher in high school, I was in broadcasting. I started in broadcasting. The first time I cracked a mic was 1964 on a radio program called Youth Keeps in Touch. It was a high school Saturday morning program, and I never stopped after that. It was from there to weekends to all of a sudden I had a career. In that profession that you and I worked in, it was profit motivated. It was ratings. It was, and by the way, if the ratings stunk, they didn't pay large salaries. They didn't have it in their budget to pay.
If the ratings stunk and it was your ratings that stunk, they
Well,
got rid of you.
yes,
I mean, there were two phrases that I learned, from the get go. You're only as good as your last book. In other words, a
yes,
book is a rating period, and they have monthly trends. You're only as good as your last one,
yep.
and you know what? And the other one was, well, son, you're a good guy. You really sound great, but you live and die by the numbers, and your career here just died.
Yeah, that's true. That's how the business works until I'd say within the last 10 years, Bill, mostly cable. You cannot justify taking an enormously profitable network like CNN, which was making millions, dare I say, tens of millions of dollars in profit because it was the number one news channel in the world. And someone made a concerted effort. They decided along the way, we're going to not be a neutral news-based organization. We're going to be a left-leaning lunatic network that promotes an agenda all the way through its news. We are going to go after one party and we're going to promote the other.
And they'll find pretty faces or socially correct, politically correct faces. I see a lot of people in there now that have a lisp, or but they fit a certain look. It could be racial, it could be sexual, it could be identity. It
Absolutely.
doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with them being able to deliver the news in an authoritative, convincing way so that you understand the news without your freaking opinion. But no, they do. And it seems that there is a narrative. And I did some research on that, and I'm sure you'll ask about that later. But, there was.
Well, you have a situation right now where I don't know whether there's ever any coming back for these networks. They've been doing so much damage to CNN and MSNBC, by the way. They just changed their call letters to MS Now. It hasn't made an effect. It hasn't helped or improved it. I mean, they just changed the label, but they're the same product.
I would bet you that if you sat there and as the whole of America sat there and said, okay, Bill, I'll take you up on this. I'll boycott every business that's on those networks. They would still go on and still do what they do without the advertisers.
Well, how do you take Rachel Maddow, for example, and pay her $20 million a year? Think about that, folks. Not $200,000, not $2 million, but $20 million a year. Exactly. And she does one show a week.
Well, yeah, one show a week. Well, she's got a big following and everybody agrees with her. Okay, let's take that analogy. Now let's go to Disney and let's say just a superficial movie, Supergirl.
Yeah.
Okay. We're looking, we got hundreds of millions of dollars in this. We hope the opening weekend we do 150 million. It won't pay the bills, but then that's a good look. No, you did about 36 to 50 million. It was a turd. It was a turd bomb. And then she comes out and somebody goes, well, what sex, is, her preference? Oh, she really doesn't have one. She kind of goes every which way but loose. The boy. So what that tells you is that nobody's buying this crap. Mainstream America is not buying it. Disney is hurting. As a matter of fact, over the past several years,
bomb after bomb.
It's bomb after bomb after bomb. If you're invested in Disney, what the hell are you paying for?
There was a time, Bill, when Disney was a guaranteed hit. I'm talking about the era of, Touchstone Pictures, and they put a lot of thought, even in their general release films. They made special care in putting them together. And of course, when a Disney movie came out, there was a time when you knew it was quality. You could take the family to see it. It was guaranteed to be a hit because it was good for everybody. But they've long since threw that out. They threw that out the window. That's gone. They don't, and by the way, Bill, somebody's paying these companies a lot of backdoor money because they don't stay. You don't stay in business if you're not
Without
making
mentioning a
money.
name, without mentioning a name, they're stealing it from you and me. And I caught a phone carrier that, and won't mention the name, but hear me now. What I found in my bill was I was going, oh, I don't have Disney. Why am I paying for this? Oh yeah, you've had it for 10 years. Did I
Are you
agree to it?
serious?
I'm
Wow.
serious. And I sat there and I said, no, I don't have Disney on the phones. Oh yeah, well you have the package. You pay $10.98 a month. I never agreed to it. Turns out somebody put it on there, and now, the big phone company is going, well, yeah, that's exactly what they're telling me.
Yeah.
I'm going, take it off. And I was out of town. I come home and I'm going to notice going, you got to pay this. And I'm going, no, I do not have to pay that. And then I also found out, they had some tack on bills on there. And I was like going, well, what's this insurance bill? Is this for the phone? Oh, no, that's for all the products in your house. Oh, really? So if I have power out, everything, you'll replace it. And then I said, well, that would have been nice to know a few years ago. Oh, it was deactivated by us. We couldn't do it, 5 years ago. Well, it turns out I've been paying for it for 10 years, hidden in the fine print in there. And I'm going like, wait a minute. So I've been paying this $50 for 10 years.
So if you are,
look at your damn bills. They're ripping you off.
Well, I mean, I got to tell you, my cable TV, we're talking straight here. My cable TV bill is higher than my mortgage payment was for my first house, big time.
Go look. They're packing in stuff. You got to read the fine print. And, nobody reads the fine print. It's buried in there, and they don't want you to find it. And when you find it, they sit there and go, humana, 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 humana. And I'm sitting there going, according to my records here, you guys don't owe me a few $100. You owe me thousands of dollars. And I hate to say this, that's called interstate wire fraud, deception.
But see, you know what their attitude is? We're much bigger than you are. We have rooms filled with lawyers, and you can't fight us because we'll beat you.
God.
Yeah,
We're God.
that's exactly how they are.
That's how they pay for the crap. I almost said the word. That's how they pay for the crap that they're throwing out there. They're stealing from you. I sat there, and somebody was talking. Maybe it was you, or it was somebody I was talking to yesterday. And they said, "Oh, socialism's such a great thing." They were being kidding around, going, socialism looks great, man, because we pay for everything. You get whatever you want. And I said, "Oh, well, who's going to pay for it?" Well, somebody else. Who is somebody else?
Yeah.
Who is that somebody else?
Well, not only that,
that's you and me. In other words, it's socialism and all this crap. It's built on a big lie.
Well, not only that, but I don't know that you remember. Do you remember the cars that were made in communist countries, the Yugo, and there were Soviet cars that were literally bombs. All right, they were. I mean, these things, they did everything but bark. All right. That's how bad they were.
Well, they could have gotten more money if they barked.
That's true. But the thing is, they don't promote communism. Doesn't promote exceptionalism. Communism doesn't reward individual achievement. Communism makes everybody comfortable with mediocrity. We're all just okay. Hey, I can either bust my ass or I can sit on my ass. I mean, if I sit on my ass, I still get the same amount of money as I would if I was busting my ass. Pardon my French, but that's the truth.
Well, you should do some research. It's China that's pushing all this socialist stuff here, but Russia's in on it too. Look at the housing for the average working person in China. When I say it is a shoebox, it's basically these high-rise buildings, and it might be 4 foot wide, 4 foot tall, and 8 foot deep. Yes, you slide in. It's just a tube you sleep in. You get out, you go down the hall, you share one stinking, and I would say stinking bathroom. Oh, you want to cook a meal? You got to find room while somebody's doing their business in there to plug in a hot plate or something and cook your meal.
By the
That
way,
is
folks,
like
by the
in
way,
China.
you've seen pictures probably in Shanghai of these beautiful sky-rise apartment
Oh,
complexes.
no, no, no.
They're empty. They sit empty, these buildings. They built them literally to showcase, oh, aren't we're a thriving, a successful economy and country, but nobody's living in them because they can't afford them. Hey, like and share the show. Tell your friends about Jim and Bill. It's another day. Jim and Bill, it's another day. We're here every single day, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on the weekend if things warrant it. And if you'd like to say hello, oh, by the way, we should point out, please go to our website. If you want to see hear our latest episode, we would ask that maybe you start a new routine and just go to jimandbill.com, jimandbill.com. And then you can select whatever, if you normally listen to it on Spotify or Amazon or one of those, Apple, they're all there listed. But also you can click on a button in the middle of the page, which plays the latest episode as soon as it's posted, okay? And you can take it with you on your phone, just like you do now. And the only difference is we get credit for it. We see who's actually visiting our site, which is kind of important.
Well, we don't. Yeah, we see a click. We see
Yeah.
a number.
We don't see a name. We don't see
Yeah,
a name.
we don't see your name and address because
Right.
what's for dinner?
That's right.
I'll
Mom,
be
there's
there
this
half
guy here
hour.
and he wants to eat with us. No,
Yeah, I'll bring the
no.
wine.
No, we don't get your name or address. We just know that somebody visited and somebody listened, and it was a real somebody and wasn't being manipulated by. We got a lot to talk about. This show is just beginning, folks. Please hang in there. Also, if you want to email us, you can do so by emailing mail at jimandbill.com, mail at jimandbill.com. So my friend, my cohort in crime, he has too many toys to play with because he does some amazing stuff. I told you that on Thursday evening at 9 o'clock, President Trump, he released classified documents and posted them on whitehouse.gov. And I mean, it was, by the way, it's not so much that you can't read it. It's like 6 pages of stuff per subsection. Okay, so there's like 24 pages of documents, Bill, 18, maybe less, maybe like 20 pages of documents that the president released. It's not like he released, War and Peace, and then you're going to get bogged down in stuff. And what my friend did here with his magic machine, his friend Grok, his friend Grok. Bill, if I told you 3 years ago you're going to have a good friend named Grok,
Yeah, I would have
you
said
would have
what?
thought
Yeah,
you would have
right.
thought I was trying to make some kind of foolish sound effect. But he did something with AI, which I think is kind of interesting. The power of AI is unbelievable. It has resources that we can't imagine, and it can access those resources in a fraction of a second compared to if we were to go about and try to get the same kind of information independently, it would take us months to put
Right.
it all together. Bill, if you would, you got the documents from whitehouse.gov. I sent them to you. I downloaded them and I sent those files to you.
Right.
What did you do with them?
Well, actually, I went into Grok and said, I want to reconstruct this, where everything's blocked out. And it said, yeah, but it gave me a reason why I couldn't do it. And I said, well, we got Chuck Griesley, we got Cash Patel, we've got about 28 sources where people have notes and different things like that, things that but they're not public record, but they're out there. They're easy to obtain. So maybe we could sit there and find the things related and give it our best guesstimate as to fill in that space as to what was actually said. And I would say that we are probably 95 to 99.5% accurate to it. and it kind of fills in the blanks as to what they are lining through. And so we have I'll say a
Wait a
quasi
second.
unredacted version.
Yeah, it is. It is our best guesstimate.
Mhm.
It's our best guesstimate of what was redacted. Am I correct?
Yes.
Grok took all the footnotes, all the information that they had, and actually kind of pieced together what's behind that black ink. We
Hmm.
think now it's a guesstimate. It is not a guaranteed, and they are not. Dare I say they are not the actual documents. It's
But
just.
now,
Go ahead, Bill.
yeah, what Gronk did do, is going into it, it said, well, this is basically all just, political hoo-ha, and this too shall pass. It's no big thing. But after it did everything, then I get this warning going, you got to be careful reading this because this is dangerous material and we're in trouble as a country. It is basically what the summation was. I was like going, oh. So now that when you dot all when you dot all the I's, cross all the T's, and you look at all the notes and go, okay, that's what they were saying right there, and put it together and go, you can't say with 100% accuracy, but pretty damn close. If I were in Vegas, I'd bet on it.
You know, I was listening to a segment from I think it was one of the CBS Sunday morning shows, and they had a New York Times expert contributor on. Maybe it was a News Nation, but he was saying, well, we do know that there's probably been some mishandling of the voter system in our country, but not as much as the president has said. And if anybody's going to make an issue out of it, it's going to be the president. Automatically, folks, their default is to, when President Trump lays down facts. Now, understand something. It wasn't speculation that President Trump put out there. It wasn't speculation. It was documentation. It was evidence. And instead of doing their job, like, okay, give me those files, like Bill did. I mean, I would have thought that one of the first things the networks would have done is what Bill did. Nowadays we have AI, right?
Nobody does because they take the anchor's word for it, and everything. And I did something on that too. We'll get into later, but everything that you hear is a hit propaganda piece, and it's almost like it's paid advertisement to put down Trump. And I do think that Trump is actually being used as a punching bag to distract you from the fact that this country is turning into a communist country.
And it's happening. Yeah, it's happening. I was just going to say that. You hit it right
before our very eyes.
Yes.
I mean, poof, pay no attention to the man over there with the sickle and hammer.
Yeah.
Look over here.
Yes.
This guy is
Let's talk
so
about
bad.
the World Cup. Yes. The first section, there were 4 segments, I believe, that were released. The first one, section 1, was voter registration, the voter registration database threats.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you found out in voter registration database threats?
Well, it says recently declassified records revealed that China breached multiple state voter registration systems prior to the 2020 election. This is not a new phenomenon. Unclassified reports from the last decade reveal the state-wide voter registration databases are attractive targets for foreign adversaries. Hackers have attempted to breach voter registration systems to all 50 states, with confirmed successes in at least 20 states.
Wow.
Experts have routinely minimized the significance of successful breaches. State and local election officials, they prioritize enhanced defenses. Now, the report details examples including Russian actors accessing voter files in 2016, Chinese state-sponsored actors targeting what is this?
P2,
P2
yeah, whatever that
in,
is.
in
Uh,
yeah, whatever that is in 2021, and Iranian attempts in 2020. Over 250,000 non-citizens are illegally registered in just the 4 states reviewed. 4 states,
wow.
220,000.
And by the way, they were minimizing that on television when I did see stuff on Friday. Oh, it was only 225,000. Folks.
In 4 states, multiply that by 20.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, well, you've got a foreign country inside of our country.
250,000, a quarter million people. Unbelievable. And by the way, it pointed out the problem, but it didn't resolve the problem, which says to me they're still there. They're still on the rolls. I don't think did it give a solution. States using the SAVE system have identified thousands of ineligible registrants. What is the SAVE system? Do you know what that is, Bill? Well, the potential avenues for exploitation include using stolen data to request absentee ballots, alter registration, information, or delete registrants. Data with breaches remain useful for years. Preparedness requires regular backups, multi-factor authentication, network segmentation, and robust incident response plans. Bill, that's basically the entire section that they sent, including what it thinks are the redactions. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now it gets interesting, when you get into the voter registration and into the witnesses, and I understand there's more just that goes beyond the files that we went through, because there's basically four different files.
Uh-huh.
I think I copied one.
The other one is Michigan voter registration investigation, rather. The Michigan voter registration investigation. It says the FBI Michigan investigation files contain multiple memos and witness interviews detailing alleged organized fraudulent voter registration activities. Witnesses described workers' alleged organized fraudulent. You want to read
Witnesses
it, Bill?
described workers completing voter registration forms while sitting in a car. The forms were filled out based on information provided by individuals, or sometimes without proper verification to identify of identity or eligibility. Workers were paid based on the number of forms completed, which encouraged submitting as many registrations as possible, even if some contained false information. Witnesses observed that proper ID checks were not always performed. Some individuals later received ballots in the mail, despite stating that they had never registered to vote.
Wow.
It examined the role of GBI strategies in these registration drives. Memo references the review of numerous applications, with many flagged as suspicious or fraudulent. The case timeline showed the investigation spanned several years, with internal notes about delays in pursuing charges. Overall, the documents describe a pattern of coordinated effort to submit large numbers of potentially invalid registrations, raising serious concerns about the integrity of the voter rolls in Michigan during that period.
Wow.
Something to think about, too. When you look at what I was going to say, think about this for a minute. Just take your hate against Trump, or if you got that, away from this. Because Trump had a big win in 2016. But if you look at, you go back over all the elections, Clinton had a pretty big win. He did. Obama had a pretty big win. Trump had a big win. But the bumbling fool, Joe Biden, had the biggest voter turnout in recorded history, trumping Obama.
Well, the most important thing he said was, "I like chocolate chip." That was...
big. Who doesn't like chocolate chip?
That's true. I mean, the
Who is
guy
Chen?
the guy was as a president, he was shaking hands with air. He was literally
Bad
wandering
air.
off, and the prime minister of Italy, the president of Italy, Maloney, had to be, she's a nice person, she had to go over it and literally, like she was working in a care center, take him and gently turn him around and walk him back to the podium because he started to wander off into a field. Of course, his people said, no, he was looking at another thing you couldn't see off camera. There was some parachutists. No, no, no. He was lost, and you could see it in his face. When they turned him around, his eyes were glazed over. And this is what this is, if anything, Bill, it showed how strong we are as a country to have endured 4 years of a rudderless government, a government that wasn't honest with us, that wasn't doing the work of the people, and still we survived.
Well, and yeah, but how well have we survived? Because there was, I don't know that I see it on this report here, but I did some other things I'm writing something on, but
Right.
they looked for the CCP. They have students here, Chinese students, and what they did was make sure that these people that are not citizens got paperwork to vote so that they voted in the last election because they are pushing an agenda.
Well,
We've got a serious problem.
What you have here, if you look at Section 4, China fraudulent driver's licenses and related interference it says in late August of 2020, the Chinese government had produced a large amount of fraudulent United States driver's licenses that were secretly exported to the United States. The fraudulent driver's licenses would allow tens of thousands of Chinese students and immigrants sympathetic to the Chinese Communist Party to vote for U.S. presidential candidate Joe Biden. And it was specific. It's written here, Joe Biden. I got a feeling that was probably one of the things that was blacked out. They added that.
They put Joe Biden in place.
China had collected private U.S. user data from millions of TikTok accounts to include name ID and address, which would allow the Chinese government to use real U.S. persons' information to create the fraudulent driver's licenses. The fraudulent driver's licenses were to include true ID numbers and true addresses of U.S. citizens, making them difficult to detect. China planned to use the fraudulent driver's licenses to account for tens of thousands of mail-in voters. Folks, let me explain something. You probably realize this. China's not our friend. And by the way, we are at a soft war right now.
Yes, we are.
With China.
And you know what? Russia's chiming in on this too because they are helping now with air defense and certain defensive weaponry that takes on Israel and us, supposedly, to help Iran. So communism is on the march because if you consider there are three pillars: China, Russia, they're communist, and democracy, our republic, America.
Yeah.
Those two so-sos want to get rid of us. They have for a long time. And damn it, they're working pretty good on it. They've already taken out England.
They literally have taken control of one of the two major parties in our country. The Democrat Party is not, by the way, it's not going to be the Democrat Party pretty soon. Pretty soon it'll be referred to as the Democratic Socialist of America. It's going to happen because that's who they are. And they're proud of it now. Now,
They've already got their platform. You mentioned it.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, Bill.
No, I'm just saying. You mentioned it. They've got a platform now. They're marching forward.
Yeah.
If you turned on your laptop right now, besides listening to this, you are going to see a story about, AOC and socialism on the march. And, if you pay attention, A lot of these mainstream Democrats or supposedly mainstream Democrats, they're stepping aside to allow the socialists to come up. Now, in Maine's case, Pratner, well, he had some problems. But the guy that was supporting him, and they like to say, well, he was once a Republican, he is a progressive. And he's a progressive socialist. And a socialist is at the doorstep of communism. And now he's got all the Democratic Party cohesively behind him to run. And I will point out something. If you remember when Kamala Harris ran and they had all the bad bookkeeping, the Democratic Party right now only has, this is something that a lot of people don't know, they only have an $18 million war chest. Well, no. It's a $14 million war chest.
Mm-hmm.
But they are $18 million in debt. So even if they paid their debt off, they're still $4 million in debt. They have no money to run a candidate, but you see their names all over everything. Now, the Republicans, I don't see any advertising going for them because they know it's important. They've got $150 million. That's the war chest for the upcoming midterms. But
they're amazing, folks. The moderate Democrats are literally, you heard Bill say there was a guy in Michigan running for a position, and he stepped aside for the socialist. It's like they realize their parties. John Fetterman, who has been a pretty reliable Democrat, came out and said if they turn their back on Israel, I'm done. I'm out of the party. I'm leaving the Democrat Party.
Back on Israel.
John Fetterman literally is more popular now in the state of Pennsylvania with Republicans.
They want him out
than he is with Democrats. Well, I think he'd be welcomed into the Democrat Party. We got more to talk about.
The Republican Party.
I'm sorry. Yes, yeah, they want him. They want him into the Republican Party. Yes, it's a Monday. Like and share the show. Tell your friends about Jim and Bill. It's another day. Also, if you want to email us, it's mail@jimandbill.com. Mail@jimandbill.com. So the question is, where do we go from here? Are we? Is President Trump? Was it the beginning Thursday night? Was it the opening salvo? Was it the introduction to the problem? Or was that the end of his investigation? Because if it is, we're screwed. He's got Bill. He's got to come out. And by the way, he doesn't have a long time to do this. He's got to. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is just me. But he's going to have to take some drastic steps. Not popular with some people who aren't paying attention because they'll think he's acting like a dictator. No, he will have to do what has to be done to save America. He talks about the Save America Act. It's not going to pass. It's not going to pass because the Democrats, who should be embracing the idea because 85% of the people, they believe in the Save America Act, including Democrats.
Yes.
The Save America, the politicians, the Democratic politicians, they say, screw it. We don't care. We're not going to pass it. And we're really proud of it. I mean, folks, these people are shameless. They're shameless.
And everything that you see in the media, social media, you get points for going viral. And so there are people there trying to make money on this. Where that money's coming from, I don't know. I'm going to say it's dark money. But the simple fact is, if you put a value on, if you look at what's going on in the news, even going before this, but let's just look at last year alone, everything in the news was 97% a hit piece on Trump. Now, that being the case, that's not neutral news. That's vindictive news. Or news with intention. It is a paid political, or at least the equivalent of paid political advertising. And if you sat there and, put a value on that, there's a number down here somewhere in this because I did put a value on it. I know just to get the three networks alone, you're probably talking
I think you said like a $1.5 billion.
$1.8 billion is
1.8.
what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you look at all of this. No, it's not. Yeah, that's it. Either way, but it would cost you, you know, tens of billions of dollars, 20, 30, 40, 50 billion dollars just to sit there and put a number on it, and probably higher. Well, no, it's more than that. I'm going down looking at all the math here, and I'm sitting there going, it's in the hundreds of billions of dollars that they have given the left free advertising and nothing to Trump. It's all hate. Now, they've given it to Trump, all right, right
Which
up
gives
the
which gives you an
wazoo.
idea, by the way, of how strong he is, because through all of that tsunami of nonsense, tsunami of lies, misrepresentations, he still manages to maintain a strong stance in our country, a strong influence in our country. They don't know what the hell to make of him, folks. They have thrown everything, including the kitchen sink, at him. They've tried to kill him several times. I can think of 3 or 4 times that I
They're
know
going to
of.
try again.
Yes. Because
I'm going to answer your question because you sat there and said, I don't know what Trump's doing, but I hope he does something. Whatever he's doing and whatever's positive, it's not going to be reported on the news. You're not going to hear about it. You're not going to get an email from the Democratic Party saying, unless they say, boy, these Republicans, they got a lot of money and they're coming after us, and we'll never, we've got to stop the SAVE Act. Why do you have to stop the SAVE Act? Could you tell us why? Explain to us why. Oh, that's it. Because, you can't get the illegal votes in because the whole of America, when you look at the raw, real numbers out there, 80% of the people say this is screwed. We don't need what's going on right now. But to answer your question, we're not going to know. And the only way that Trump is going to win is we got to start getting proactive. If you have something out there that's positive, email it to everybody and tell your friends to email it. Start spreading it around. Dump on the left like they're dumping on us.
Folks, the problem is, and this is the truth, the problem with the people on the right is that they are law-abiding people. They follow the Constitution. They obey the laws. They respect the police.
The rules of decorum.
Yes.
Everything.
The people on the left, they'll break things, yell, scream in your face, do everything they can to incite violence because they have no respect for the system. They want to bring the system down. They want to bring it down. So what Bill just said is very true. In our own way, we've got to get out there and start spreading the word that this is what's happening and this is how we counter it. And we have to be law-abiding because that's who we are, but we also have to be effective. We have to get the word out. People, I was thinking as you were talking, I wonder how many, I call them MAGA light people who may have voted for Trump in the last election, but when they dumped this hundreds of millions of dollars into free promotional to drag Trump down, I wonder how many actually turned their back on Trump, who actually walked away from Trump because of that unfair and untruthful campaign that the left dumped on them. Probably more than you can imagine. It's even I believe. See, I believe the guy is doing the best job that he can do. Do I think that he's always great in public? No. I think sometimes he acts a little egotistical. But look at. I can take all of the little negatives compared to the many positive things that the guy has done for our country.
You know what? His PT Barnum, PT Barnum isms.
Yeah.
His
the greatest since all time, the best you've ever seen. Yeah.
But you know what? Why did PT Barnum do that? it cut through the noise. It
Self-promotion.
got
Yeah.
attention, self-promotion.
Yep.
And that's all he's got. When I'm telling you that 97% of everything that's out there is Trump hate, and it's
Yes.
the tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars in negative hate to him on a party that's $18 million in debt. So this is a covert effort on their part and state media, because the media is supposed to be there for the people to give us, the straight news, straight talk without your damn opinion. Take your opinion and put it where the sun don't shine, because I don't want to hear it. I want to hear the good. I want to hear the bad. I just want to hear the news without your stinking interpretation.
And what you said is very true. He may act like he's being braggadocious to some people, but if he doesn't do that, if he doesn't self-promote our country, if he doesn't constantly remind you what's happening, you're not going to get that from the mainstream media. So by him doing it over and over again, it reinforces, okay, well, our economy is strong. President Trump said that. We're going to bomb the living daylights out of Iran. Bomb it back into the Stone Age. He says things, that may be outrageous to some people, but they're effective.
Well, they sit there and they say, well, he's losing his voice. That's all he's got is his voice. And to add some insult to the injury they've done to him, but just to highlight it, the simple fact is, well, I even hear him on mic. When he goes out and does, unless it's his rally where he controls it, the microphone's good and he can talk. But if he goes to a public forum that's
yes.
controlled by the media, well, the mic, that's what they do to him.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen a presser where he goes up or a conservative goes up and the mic doesn't work? But the Democrat gets up there and all of a sudden he goes, hi, I'm a Democrat and everything is as loud as can be. The Republican comes up, and everything is about this loud.
For case in point, look at this clown that they just elected in New York. This smiling buffoon, Mandani, right? And by the way, he is a smiling buffoon. But the media just love being around him. They love sticking microphones in his face. They love following him around. He was speaking at Rikers. He had a special event at Rikers Island for the prisoners last week, where he invited all these prisoners who've been on good behavior. But folks, even the ones on good behavior at Rikers Island are real bad criminals, okay? And they're having sandwiches and shooting the breeze with the mayor of New York. In the meantime, the police, who put their lives on the line every day, the firemen who go into burning buildings constantly to save our rear ends, instead of getting a visit from their mayor and having dinner together with the people who mean something, this creep decides to go and spend an afternoon with a bunch of lawbreakers and criminals. I'm telling you, folks, this is a perfect sign of what the Democrat Party is right now. They're taking good and making it bad, and they're taking bad and making it good. That's the Democrat Party right now. Whether you believe it or not. Go ahead.
Mandani is a communist, and I think he's pretty much come out and said it. There are people that saying, if he's a communist, his citizenship and his mayoral presence goes bye-bye. Now, he's already stated, everybody knows about it. If you don't know about it, surprise, Netanyahu is going to the UN
in September. Yeah.
In September. Mandani is sitting there going, okay, I'm going to get the police to arrest him for war crimes.
By the way, they can't do it. By the way, he has no legal right.
He's trying to find a way to dance. And you know what? The other thing he's doing, you're going to see a war break out in New York. New York is classically a great city, but they've gone through a lot. But you know who's really getting mad about everything? The Italians, because he's putting down the Italians. He's putting down the Irish. He's putting everybody down,
the Jews.
But, the Jews, forget about them. He doesn't even mention them anymore.
Right.
He kissed their ass to get elected, and then he said, hey, screw you. And the Muslims are now on a mission. This is their agenda to take over New York City and New York. And if they do, that will no longer be a state unless we fight for it because they are going to turn it into an
Well, look at
extension of.
this creep Hochul that you have as governor in New York.
She's stupid.
She decides all of a sudden last week that there'll be a 1-year moratorium on databases, on data, what do they call it, sites. You know,
Why?
because what do they call them? Are they data farms that they're building to support the AI?
Yeah.
She wants to do a moratorium for a year. By the way, these are the same great thinkers in Albany who did the same thing with fracking. You couldn't frack in New York State. So Pennsylvania said, hey, we got the same stuff down here. We're right on the border. You can tap into that same resource right here in PA. And PA made billions of dollars off of fracking and didn't hurt anybody. And a lot of people, including a lot of people who own the property, made thousands, dare I say, hundreds of thousands of dollars in free money because it was a new resource, new revenue stream. But in New York, they're shafting their own people. They're shafting their own people. Look at the city of New York. I used to work there, and I'll tell you, when I worked there, it was not at the height. I had worked there when I believe John Lindsay was mayor. It was 75 to 80, and it was just before Rudy Giuliani got into office. And Giuliani when I was there, Times Square was all peep shows and pornography, and the good restaurants had been folded up and boarded up, and all of the stuff that was there was vile. Okay, it was not the Times Square that I remember as a youngster going with my folks in the 60s. Times Square was kind of a magical place in the early 60s. But when Rudy Giuliani came in, he got rid of all of the vile in Times Square. He brought in Disney. He brought in Warner Brothers. They put in their big stores, and all of a sudden it became a destination location again. Times Square. You saw all the big electronic billboards, the flashy signs. It was special.
Right.
Now this guy Mandani, he's ruining it again. He's making it so that it is not a welcoming place to go. It is not a destination. He is making it so that you feel threatened, dare I say, literally, when you go to the city. There used to be a time I walked from Grand Central to 52nd Street every day of my young life while I was working in the city, and I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel in danger. It was New York. It was tens of thousands of people walking on Fifth Avenue, and it was just, that's life. But now there's a different environment there right now. It is not the same place. It is not the New York that I remember. And it's going to get worse because he wants it to get worse. It's not that this mayor wants to make the city better. He wants to make the city exclusive to the people who support him and his beliefs.
There's a move that they want to do right now, and it's getting some grassroots growth. They want women of America to wear what do they call it? The hijab?
The hijab,
Yeah. Whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And why do they want, if you're a woman listening, why do they want you to wear that? It's to respect their religion and their faith.
What about
your
yours?
religion?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, theirs takes priority. And you know what? In their belief, theirs is the only. If you don't believe them in their belief, then you have no reason to be living.
I'm telling you, folks, this is a soft takeover. If you are a Democrat and you haven't realized this, and you think it's the old Democrat Party of your youth,
better wake up.
You better do it damn soon. If you don't like the Republicans, be an independent, but get the hell out of that party, because that party is going to suck you down.
And when it sucks you down, it sucks us all down. And once we go down, and this is an interesting thing because we've got uh, you know a Muslim running that's a socialist, a communist, and I don't know that even communism and the Muslim faith really go together. They're strange bedfellows to me.
What they call it
This,
they call it the Red Green Alliance, I believe. Something
yeah,
like the
for
Red
how
Blue. Yeah,
long?
I have no idea.
Yeah. See, I don't know. Would you take? Would you help walk a snake or a scorpion across the street? The old
Yeah, yeah.
parable. Yeah.
Folks, we've done a lot of discussion today, and
Oh, there's so
by
much
the
more,
way,
but there's not enough time.
yeah, the document that you put together is going to be available for people to access at some point. Do you
Might have
think?
to do it on It's Another Day on the
Oh, this site.
which, yeah, you might be able to. I could put it up there. That's the easiest place to get it up there. And by the way, Section 3 is in several portions. There's several Section 3s, where it continues because it gets into the nuts and bolts of everything.
Yeah, and by the
So,
way, a reminder: it is not literally the unredacted file. We don't have that. It is a guesstimate of what the blanks probably said based upon artificial intelligence and its research.
yeah, I'll
Okay.
put that up in the next 2 hours. So, by the time you hear this podcast, it will be up.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
The other thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap things up, and it kind of ties in, I got to ask you, Bill.
all
I've
right.
spent all of my life in the Northeast, basically.
Mhm.
And only in the last couple of years have we had such a smoke problem from Canada. And I'm sorry, the maybe it's the conspiracy theorist part of me, but to me it has to be intentional. To me, people say, well, they don't believe in what they go clear cutting,
No, they don't. You know,
like California. Well, look at that.
California would be my example. Yeah, they don't clear cut. But the one thing is in California, when you go out there and there's a wildfire, smells like a campfire, smells like something
Yes,
burning. Now, I was up in the Northeast and, and I was watching news in Montreal and they were out there and people are walking around checking it out. I'm going, I wouldn't be walking around in that crap. But it's like you're walking on a cloud and you're inside the big thunderhead that's going over the big skyscrapers into the air. And I'm like going, and that was the cloud coming. And see, when somebody goes, it's a wildfire, they made the mistake of putting up a map of Canada and they had little flame where the wildfire was. But it wasn't one little flame or two little flame or three little flames or four little flames or
hundreds of
five little
miles.
flames. Yeah, there were about 50 or 60, not little flames, they're big flames. The whole damn country has got a forest fire in every damn forest. How did that happen? Did lightning strike all of those places and all that brush catch on fire? Or what? And then the other thing that I'm wondering, what are they putting it out with? Or what are they
Well,
spraying on it?
the
Or
thing I
what's
wonder
there?
is how many elderly people will die as a result of it. How
Or
many
what
people?
chemical were you breathing? Because when it was in the air,
It didn't smell like a campfire. You're right.
no, it didn't. As a matter of fact, I was going to head home earlier, and I said, "No, I'm waiting until the air clears. I'm staying the hell inside."
Well, it was
Um,
the smoke where I live was so thick, it looked like the fire was not in Canada. It looked like it was down the street.
yeah,
It was that thick, and
you
but
could look up and look at the sun, and it was a red
we are
sky and
still,
a red
Bill.
ball.
We are still where I live under a warning for the pollution
air
and
warning, or
an
air quality.
air quality alert. And the other thing is this: I went out yesterday. Now during the pandemic, I very rarely wore a mask because I just think I think I've mentioned to you
Now you
before.
have to. And it was funny how they want to do the masking thing again. And let's be honest. It doesn't smell like just smoke. It smells like maybe oil or plastics.
Plastic, yeah.
And there's a chemical in that, and it's not. Now the reason that I held off coming back home, and I had things to do here, is that I went out one day and I said, yeah, it's a little hazy out here, but it ain't bad. I'll go to the store. I came back and my body ached. I had
Yes,
chest pains. I
shortness of
was
breath.
dizzy. And I was like going, you got to be freaking kidding me. I mean, one of the things that I've made sure of as you get a little older, I'm only
How
30.
many homeless
Um,
people will die as a result of this because they have to live out in that crap?
oh, a lot. And well, how many people will die in their homes because you know what? You're inside, you think it's safe, but the air is seeping in. It gets in your
Yes.
air filters, and if you got dirty filters or it clogs up, I think of the old Legionnaire disease, which is funny because they were talking about the history of it and how it's, and that's still a plague thing that can happen. But I don't know. This just doesn't.
Well,
There's a lot of
I
things
gotta
that
tell
don't
you,
feel right.
the other thing is this. I took a shower before I went out and did yard work yesterday. I had to mow my lawn, and I wore the mask, which did help because, like I was going to say, during pandemic, they say that with viruses, it's like throwing sand through a fence. The mask did nothing, but with smoke and particulate from smoke, a mask does help. So I wore the mask yesterday while I did the lawn. I came back in. I had to take another shower because I had like this oil all over my skin. This
Oh.
I felt slimy. You know what I'm saying? And I think, folks, that there again, I don't know. I think that we live in a world where people are constantly being dishonest with us, constantly, right? And we're a trusting people, but we have a lot of people with bad intent who lie to us all the time. Canada, is this intentional? Well, they're not our friends.
Well, maybe they're complicitly stupid and they're being used. I don't know. Not to get onto a biblical rant, but the Bible always talks about the end times. There will be famine, there will be plagues. Would you say that the the pandemic, I mean disease and things like that. They talk about plagues and locusts. Well, maybe not locusts, but not natural here, but it's everywhere now. And I hear, and people are getting bit all the time, and they don't like meat now. All of a sudden,
Right.
the spotted deer tick, it's everywhere. I mean, I had
Well,
one that came up, and I flicked it off, and I was going like, "Damn, I got lucky there." If you have shrub around the house, and see, that's another thing.
I have to mow every time I mow my lawn. I brush into trees and stuff like that. And I think, I wonder if I got
They're
something.
there.
Yeah, wonder if I
They're
got something.
there. I mean, so we are actually living through those times. Sadly, it just seems that if you really take a look at it, everything, famine, disease, whatever it is that's out there that you might say is in biblical proportions, has been man-induced.
Folks,
Sad.
if you love your country, I think and we're going to be talking a lot about this week, I think, because I think it's going to be a crazy week. All right. I think a lot of things are going to happen this week. I don't know why, but I think there's something that's going to happen this week that'll probably be momentous. And I don't even know what it is. I just have this feeling.
It could be sad.
Right?
It could be really scary
Yeah.
because it could be, the Democrats would love it if Trump went down, or they got a lucky
And
shot.
he goes out in front of the people at the World Cup. It's like, maybe you should consider not doing that, Mr. President, because the guy who was the president of Milei, the president of Argentina, his team was in the finals. He said, I'm not leaving my TV set where I'm at in Argentina because they win when I watch it here. I mean, he was superstitious, but he didn't travel to New York to witness the game. Maybe, Mr. President, I know you were doing it as a PR stunt, but you're putting yourself in danger. And there are millions upon millions of people who need you to stay healthy and alive because, by the way, freedom is worth fighting for. And I'm afraid, folks, that we're going to have to fight for it. I mean, there are people who want to steal it from you right now. And I think that when I say fight for it, I don't mean grab a gun or anything like that. But I mean, you're going to have to stand firm with the president. You're going to have to, speak your mind. Let the world know how you feel. Don't sit quietly in the corner in the back of the bus not talking. Say something, you know?
Hmm.
Uh, Bill, I do think it's going to be a crazy week. I think it's going to be. I don't know why. I have a feeling this is not going to be a normal week. I would submit that, like you just said, they would like to hurt the guy because he's effective and he's making a point that they don't want to have made. You know, he put those documents out. Look what you did. You did something the mainstream media should have jumped all over from the moment they got their hands on the file. Instead, all they complained about were the redactions. Instead of saying, well, let's figure out what the redactions really said, they did nothing.
I have a bibliography at the end. I explain how I did it, so you can do it too. Anytime you could go back and look at old things redacted. You got to do it a file at a time. I will tell you that. You can't just blurb the whole thing out there. You got to get it. But once you get it, all of a sudden you get a whole different interpretation of everything.
Yeah. What the AI thing does, you mentioned the bibliography in the source material, it references, it goes back to those source materials, and in a short period of time, it reads it, it deciphers it, it understands it, it explains it. And
Yeah.
and then it includes it in the document. And then it looks at the document and sees the words that weren't redacted and says, okay, well, this should belong in front of this. This should belong in front of this because this is how it works. It's kind of amazing, and it does it in lightning speed compared to if we had to try to figure it out, it would take us months to do what
How
it.
long do you think it's going to be before they take AI and they shut off its access to right now every computer is basically a relay point. Your computer has knowledge, and through the internet, um, I can get knowledge off of it everywhere. And there are public computers and files that you can go out there and get this information. How long do you think it's going to be before they shut that off? As a matter of fact, a long, long time ago, that was how pirates, music pirates, used to get songs. They used to sit there because people have a song on their computer, and it would go out and find bits and pieces of a song and assemble it.
Yep.
And there
I
you
think it
go.
was
You've
called
got,
was it called BitCurrent, something like that.
I
BitTorrent,
don't know.
BitTorrent. They go,
Yeah.
yeah. They would go
But
out.
I went to public sources. I didn't go to anything that was,
Yeah,
uh, you know,
and
uh,
that's why some of the songs, by the way, would have the beginning would be a pristine verse,
and
and
then
the
it would
middle
start
would.
sounding like it was under a faucet.
Yeah, exactly, because it would literally piece the songs together from different sources.
See,
Uh,
but they didn't have AI back then. AI can actually take out the bad artifacts now and redo it.
Unbelievable.
It's amazing what the technology can do, uh, and I'll run it by you after the show. There was something that an observation that I made, when fiction becomes reality, and with the space exploration and what's going on now. I'll run it by you after the
Hey,
show because I don't want to make myself a bumbling idiot.
if you have friends who don't follow the show, it might be a good time to reintroduce them to the program because, like today's show, a lot of interesting information that you're not going to find anywhere else. You can go to some of the most prestigious podcasts and newscasts out there. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. We did
Right.
it, and I would suggest that now would be a good time to tell your friends about our program. Jim and Bill, it's another day, and we'll be here tomorrow. And by the way, Bill, call me crazy, but I had this
You're
string.
crazy,
I had
Jim.
thank you, but you do that all the time. But I have a feeling it's going to be a very busy week.
Is that your radio intuition?
No, this is something else. No,
It's a gut feeling.
it's a
Yeah,
gut feeling. Yeah.
yeah,
And I
I
think you
get it.
have it too because we talked about it off mic. You know,
Yeah, no, I do. I have preached that we are in delicate times. Um, Trump's little speech that they don't want to talk about um, helps to punctuate that, And then, when you step back and start taking a really deep dive into everything that's going on, you realize that, you know, democracy is in the crosshairs. America is in the, you put the eagle in the crosshairs. That's where we are today, and it doesn't mean we can't get it fixed, but we got to
Oh,
start
by
with
the
these elections right
before
now.
I forget, I was going through the internet, and do you remember Uri Geller? He was a psychic. He was a
Mhm.
and he's still active on the internet, and he doesn't think that we should. He thinks we should take that brand new 747 and give it back to Qatar because
Right.
he said, he made a terrific example, and it happened during the '60s, late '50s, early '60s. The Soviets gave as a gift to the U.S. Embassy this beautiful seal of the United States, the Great Seal of the
Mhm.
United States. And they said, it's a gift. We want you to have it. It was handmade and it's for you. And it's a token of our appreciation. And so they took the emblem and they put it in the ambassador's office. And it was there for like years, 10 years, until somebody inadvertently found out that there was a signal coming from it and that it was a very sophisticated spy device and it had a mic in it.
Mm.
Let me tell you something. They had figured out way back then how to power this device, this microphone, without batteries. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
This is way before the sophisticated era we're in right now. What Uri Geller said is, if they could do that back in the '60s, early '60s, what can they do on a 747 with nanotechnology? He said they could have nano cameras all over that airplane. They could.
Well, they could. Hell, you could probably find a way to build it into the metal, the
Yes,
sheet, the sheet metal.
they should
So,
literally. The president should strip the paint off it, have it. What do you call it? Power wash the paint off it and send it back. Thank you very much, but no thank you. And then he should turn to Boeing and say, "Get off your derriere. I want the new plane ASAP."
yeah.
Uh,
Well, he's not going to get it during his presidency because the Democrats will do everything they can to poo-poo it. I will throw this one idea at you because I was watching a news story last night, and they were talking about Artemis.
right?
Artemis 3 and Artemis 4 as they get ready, and they were talking about when the rockets, it's got redundant rockets. So, like if two rockets go out when they're blasting off,
Yeah,
when it's on the pad, they shut it down. Why not fix those right away? But if you get up there and you go to stage 2 and you got a couple of rockets go out, now you got 38 more, you're going to be
yeah.
able to do your mission. But they're talking about it, and they were talking about it in a Star Trek way, as we talk about starships. They mentioned the word starships, and I thought, wow, this sounds kind of Star Trekky as
Yeah.
we do things. And then it got me to think. I said, I used to be a Trekkie. I used to watch Star Trek, and even the movies when they talked about the discovery of the warp engine, and this is where fiction becomes reality. Where they said, well, that the character Zephyrin Cochrane came up with it in 2063. 10 years after the war ended, World War III, which in the series started in what year? 2026.
Huh.
Weird.
Oh God, I hope that's
So for
one.
your Star Trekkies out there, you're going, what?
I hope
What?
that's one point where life does not imitate, fiction.
Well, you never know, man. I mean, and there's cross references in that. And sometimes, you know, um, uh, they have a way of sending us. They telegraph us what's to come. Who knows?
Hey, listen, folks, it's been a long one, but an interesting one. Again, tell your friends about Jim and Bill. It's another day. I'm all done, my friend. Well, I'm really not. I got a lot more to say. I could do this. Could be a 4-hour show, but we don't want to lose the room. But with a little bit of luck, we'll be back again tomorrow. Bill, you want to take us out of here?
Yeah, I think so. And you know what? I'm going to go pull the shades and lock the doors, too. So
Yeah.
until next time, baby, hasta la vista,
We're out of here.
Who are we and why are we here? Will we be welcome or possibly feared? Do we unite and stand tall as a nation of one, or split and divide, or be mocked and shunned? Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our beliefs? Are they red, white, and blue? The truth is out there, you just have to search. Settle for less, you'll be left in the lurch. No left-leaning lies, no socialist swill. It's straight talking truth from your friends Jim and Bill. Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our belief? Are they red, white, and blue? Are our leaders patriotic, honest and true? Do they share our beliefs? Are they red, white, and blue?
All music the property of Jim and Bill. All rights reserved. This is CRN America.